It started as a love story and became a nightmare. There are many legal cases that pit blood relatives against loved ones, but few are as complex, emotional, and potentially significant as that at Thompson versus Kowalski. What happened in an instant in northern Minnesota triggered an ongoing battle. The outcome will affect the rights of homosexuals, parents, and the disabled for years to come. It all began when Karen Thompson met Sharon Kowalski and fell in love. The backdrop for their story is the bleak, unyielding border of northern Minnesota, a land known as the Iron Range.
The range is a place where I think boys are boys and, in a way, stay boys. We enjoy getting out.
Well, there's people.
There's a great male camaraderie.
Them guys said you saw Big Jake the other day back there, eh? Was that you that saw him? No, Mike. Mike saw him? Big Jake?
It's in a way friendly, but very unyielding kind of attitude that men are men and women are women. You don't cross that line.
It's a religious culture, very family-oriented culture. Families stick together. They have very strong views on things with regard to marriage, sexuality. People ought to graduate from high school, get a job, work hard, marry young, have a family.
I've never wanted to be different. I've just wanted to fit in and not have the hassle and live as I wanted to live.
Okay, you started your approach too soon. Try to stay back until you see where the set's going and then make your approach.
Karen Thompson has been teaching physical education for 13 years at the State University in St. Cloud, Minnesota.
I was brought up to believe that I'd probably get married and have children, and wondered what was wrong with me, that I couldn't meet the right man, that I just wasn't interested. And I really tried those first 32 years of my life to do what society expected me to do, and to wonder when I was going to grow up and find my real niche in that. And became a workaholic to try to avoid the questions that I was having.
Good job!
How did you meet Sharon?
Sharon was a student in one of my classes. She, a year later, came in to ask me if she could help with track. And we just got to know each other better and better as that year went on, and started forming a really good friendship. It's funny, because you go for a walk with Sharon, and she's the type of person who'll grab hold of your hand and say, look at this, you know. And then pretty soon it was just kind of normal to be holding hands with Sharon, so, which is kind of strange now that I look back on it, because I couldn't imagine that I could walk holding someone, especially a woman's hand, you know, and think that that was okay.
Did you know you were forming a relationship when you two became friends?
I don't know, I hadn't even thought about it, that's where things were going. I mean, it was such a shock when I realized it. It's really hard. I mean, there's no way that I would choose, if I were choosing a lifestyle, to have stepped out at that time and chosen to be a lesbian and chosen to love a woman.
After 2 years of intense friendship, Karen and Sharon decided to make their relationship permanent. In 1979, they exchanged rings in a private marriage ceremony and moved into a lakeside home. Were you happy when you made that commitment?
Oh, ecstatic, yeah. And you don't see then all the problems that they're going to be, especially living in the closet. What a toll you pay when you can't say we or ours, and you have to guard every word, every look, every emotion. And you know, I didn't have any clue at that time how difficult that was going to be.
Fearful of being ostracized or losing their jobs in their conservative community, Karen and Sharon led fiercely private lives. They kept their relationship a secret from virtually everyone, including their families. But something was to happen that would not only test their commitment to each other, but would alter them both forever. On November 13th, 1983, while Sharon was driving north with her young niece and nephew to visit her parents, a drunk driver veered out of control and hit her car head-on. Sharon's niece was killed. Sharon and her nephew were rushed to nearby hospitals, both in critical condition. Her nephew later recovered, but Sharon suffered severe brain injury and stayed in a coma for 5 months. As Sharon slowly emerged from her coma, she remained a quadriplegic with only partial control of her right hand and arm. She was unable to speak, but with Karen's help, learned to communicate using a letterboard and typewriter. Doctors were unable to determine Sharon's mental ability because her test results were varied and contradictory.
She just can't, you know, do anything for herself. She's in diapers. They have to turn her, you know. They have to get her up to put her in her wheelchair. We got a special maid.
Donald Kowalski, Sharon's father, is a retired miner from the Iron Range.
Comparing her now to what she was, you know, she was such an outdoors person, such a active person, and now she's just completely handicapped, you know, just downright helpless.
Don Kowalski, Sharon's father, would come to the hospital regularly. He was there week after week.
Dr. Keith Larson was Sharon's neurologist following the accident.
And he would enter the room. It gave me an image almost of entering a funeral home to pay your respects to the corpse. He had so much difficulty understanding that there was life there. But it was clear that this girl was very, very special to the Kowalskis. They were struck numb by the occurrence itself. I usually would see Karen in the late afternoons working with Sharon. Sharon would attend to Karen much longer than she would to anyone else.
It was a really exciting time to find that there was a human being inside of there, trapped in a body that wasn't working very well, but Sharon was there. And when Sharon looked at me with her eyes, I knew that she was there, and I knew that she still loved me.
She was there continuously.
How did you feel about that?
Well, she seemed to push herself forward as if she was the important one. She spent plenty of time. I mean, every moment that she could possibly spend, she was there. She couldn't even at this time let the family, you know, be with Sharon. So I finally called her to the side, to a vacant waiting room, and told her, you know, at least give us a little time or I'm going to ask that you not even see Sharon.
And I panicked. I mean, inside, I just, it just was a horrible thing to stand there, and then, how are you supposed to react to it? Just what are you supposed to say?
And she just, I am family, you know.
She said, I am family.
She just said, I am family.
As the tension between Karen and the Kowalskis grew, Karen saw her relationship with Sharon slipping away. 10 weeks after the accident, in a desperate move, she wrote the Kowalskis a letter.
I tried to tell them that Sharon needed their love and support very much, and that she might have, grown into a woman that they didn't totally know or didn't totally understand. And I tried to be as gentle as I could be, and yet come right out and say that, yes, Sharon and I do go to bed with each other every night. We wake up to each other every morning. We, share hopes and share dreams.
I couldn't believe it. Sharon never told us about it, so I don't feel as though I should have to believe what a school teacher is telling me over what my daughter that I trusted all the time, and trusted us, me and her mother. So she never told us about any kind of a relationship, so this is what we're going to go by. We're going to believe our daughter.
Karen, these are parents who just seen their daughter have a tragic accident, lost their granddaughter in the process, and now you come out and tell them she's a lesbian? Did you really think they were going to understand that?
Yes, I did. But I did not do that, did not want to do that until I felt forced to do that. Like there was no other option. I mean, they were going to exclude me from Sharon's life. They were going to move her away from where she wanted to be.
In the winter of 1984, Donald Kowalski began making plans to move Sharon to a nursing home back on the Iron Range. It was a move that would take her 200 miles from Karen Thompson. So 2 months later, Karen went to court, determined to win guardianship of Sharon. Instead, the first court order named Donald Kowalski guardian, but gave Karen Thompson equal visitation rights. But when Karen exercised those rights, the Kowalskis went back to court. That was the beginning of a battle that would bring both sides to court 20 times in just 5 years, and a case that would raise issues affecting the entire gay and lesbian community.
Who comes first when there's no marriage? If there's a marriage, it's a different story. I'm married because I got a marriage license, and it's legal. So why should it, this is what I guess bothers me about having to go to court all the time, is there is nothing legal.
They couldn't deal with the fact that their daughter was in a relationship with me. And if they could shut me out of Sharon's life, they didn't have to deal with it.
I feel as though why I haven't done nothing wrong, why I'm drug into court all the time just because I'm trying to take care of one of my own family that hadn't done no wrong either. And I'm just trying to protect her because she can't protect herself. And I'm trying to do what I think is right because she can't protect herself. I'm trying to do what I think Sharon would want me to do.
I understand that this is difficult for them, that it's hard for them. My patience with them ends when it hurts Sharon. Hey, if they want to take all the time in the world, if they never want to deal with it, that's fine, but it should not be allowed to keep Sharon where she is.
As the court battle intensified, so did the emotion. The Kowalskis claimed their daughter had never been in a lesbian relationship with Karen Thompson and said they were afraid she might even sexually abuse Sharon. They said their daughter was incapable of making decisions, and that they must protect her. Karen Thompson found herself trying to prove that she had been in a committed relationship with Sharon, that she could provide better therapy for her, and that Sharon, though handicapped, could still make decisions on her own.
One of the saddest things about this case is that Sharon Kowalski could have come into court early on and made it very clear what she wanted, and was not given that opportunity because she was portrayed as an infant in diapers. And the court believed that if the parent said she was an infant in diapers, she must be, and that Karen Thompson was making up this story about this woman who was lucid and communicative with a typewriter.
Jan Goldman, attorney for the Minnesota Civil Liberties Union, interviewed Sharon Kowalski in the spring of 1985.
And she answered everything just as directly as anybody else would, except she had to type out her responses, and it was slow. We were there all day. And at the end, I felt comfortable enough, and I thought it was important enough to ask her what her relationship was with Karen Thompson. And she typed out gay, and I said, what does that mean to you? What does that word mean to you? Because gay can mean a lot of things to a lot of people. And she said, we love each other.
What more basic right is there than a right of a person to choose and see their friends?
Attorney Brian O'Neill was asked by the Minnesota Civil Liberties Union to represent Sharon in 1985.
It's so basic that you don't, nobody would think of articulating it. That right was taken away from Sharon Kowalski. But the judges wouldn't do anything about it because the issue wasn't phrased in that respect. The issue was phrased in this respect, practically. No matter what it said in the legal briefs, it was, should a dad have the right to protect his daughter from sexual exploitation by a lesbian? And once that became the truth of that case, you knew what the answer was going to be.
Donald Kowalski was given total control over his daughter's life on July 25th, 1985, when the court reversed its earlier decision. Within 24 hours, he barred Karen Thompson from seeing Sharon. He restricted her visitors and censored most of her mail. Then, Mr. Kowalski moved his daughter to a nursing home in northern Minnesota.
And Sharon is laying in a nursing home with everybody's time and attention going to the battle and not going to her. I mean, they've forgotten what they're fighting about.
Have you ever asked her if she wants to see Karen Thompson?
Yes, and again, there's times that she will say yes, you know, but there's a good share of times no.
What do you think it means when she says yes?
I don't know. Stop and think about it yourself. In her condition, no matter who would ask her, do you want to see so-and-so, I think she'd be happy to see anybody, you know. She'd like a visitor. I don't think she wants to see her.
I will always love Sharon, and I made a lifetime commitment to Sharon. And I know that whatever Sharon wants, I will spend the rest of my life trying to get her.
I told her, you know, if I do come out, I'm probably bringing you out with me. And Sharon laughed. And then I said, aren't I the most likely person you know to stand up and fight for gay rights? And Sharon typed, least likely.
After all the futile years in court, Karen took her very private story and made it public.
This is one of our honored guests tonight. This is Karen Thompson.
Hi, Karen. Nice to meet all of you.
Her decision was a last-ditch effort to gain public and financial support for the case of Thompson versus Kowalski, and she says for the rights of gays and handicapped people everywhere. Karen has raised over $100,000 for legal costs, and in the process, the Kowalskis say she has aggravated and humiliated them even more.
In July then of 1985, Sharon's father was given guardianship, and within 24 hours of that, he ordered that I should never be allowed to see Sharon again.
She didn't have nothing to gain by coming out with some type of relationship, going public, nationwide. Then she started asking for funds. All that points to me out is she wanted money. We've never asked for anything. We don't want anything. We don't, just, all we like to be is left alone, take care of our daughter.
Sad that people find it really difficult just to hear the truth. Something so simple as that we just love each other, and we should have the right to be together, and we should have the right to work out our own future without someone else dictating that to us.
I'm protecting a human being is what I feel, and hell, she's part of me. She's part of us, always will be. You can't take that away. They can, the court, I guess, could take Sharon away from me, but they can never take one thing away. I'm still her father. I'm still her dad. They can't take that away no matter what. Nobody can take that away from us. We'll always be her parents.
It's time that we put aside our own prejudices, our own fears, and that we look at what's best for Sharon and what Sharon would want, that we've all lost. Certainly Sharon's parents have lost. I've lost, but Sharon's lost the most, and it's time that we deal with that.
Finally, almost 5 years after the case first went to court, a judge gave Sharon the right to choose her own visitors, even though her father remains her guardian. On February 2nd, Karen Thompson visited Sharon for the first time since 1985. In the coming weeks, doctors will reevaluate Sharon's competence and submit a new report to the judge. And then once again, Sharon's fate will be in the hands of the courts.